The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is fueled by Eukanuba. If you want to get the most of your dog in your training sessions, you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Eukanuba's new premium performance lineup is built with the nutrients dogs need to help unleash their max potential. That starts with providing energy that matches their efforts, supporting optimal nutrient delivery, and supporting post-exercise recovery. Check out the new Eukanuba premium performance lineup and find your dog's fuel at eukanubasportingdogs.com. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. The HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is powered by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. Gunner kennels are engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner in a category all its own. They were started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner's dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunner.com. Here we on to Lesson 5, Module 3 of the HP Outdoors Foundation Waterfowl Hunting course. On this lesson, we're going to talk about calls. Calls is certainly something that gets a lot of attention in the waterfowl community, and there's a variety of call makers out there, and lots of different people have lots of different opinions about what calls are best and what styles are best and all that stuff. But here at a high level, we just want to sort of introduce to you the types of calls that are out there and what you might want to look for if you're looking for your first call, or maybe you're looking to bump up to a more advanced call. But in general, calls are going to be made of one of several materials. The least expensive and most common starter call would be a polycarbonate call. But eventually, once you progress on that call, most want to move on to something more advanced, which would typically be either an acrylic call or some sort of wood call, maple or hedge type call, depending on the sound and the situation that you're looking for. Both of those calls can make really quality high-end sounds. Another material that you'll see at times is Delrin, which is a sort of middle ground material between acrylic and polycarbonate. It's a nice cost-effective way to get a call that's a little more durable and can produce a little better sound comparatively to a polycarbonate call. But no question, there's lots of choice out there amongst these materials, and it's really up to you as the hunter to try as many as you possibly can and just see which one's going to fit not only your budget best, but also your calling style, your calling ability, all of those sort of things. Obviously, we don't recommend a brand new hunter going out and spending $200 on a goose call. A $20 goose call from your local sporting goods store just to learn basic fundamentals is probably the right decision to start. But before I go too much further down that road, I'll let Dan talk a little bit more about calls specifically.
Yeah, when I started out and started, spending my own money on equipment to go out and hunt, I feel like this was one of the more overwhelming sections for me. The decoys, we kind of started out with some, yard sale specials and stuff like that, but the calls just seemed to be overwhelming when you looked in all the magazines and everything like that. And like you said, the polycarb and, it might be $20. You learn how to use the calls, and then you get into something like acrylic that has a really crisp pop on it, or the wood that is just kind of softer and fits some smaller areas if you're hunting flooded timber or something like that. So, and the burnt hedge is a beautiful looking wooden call. Moving forward, duck calls, primarily you have a single reed and a double reed. If you're starting out, you're probably going to want to start with a double reed. It is more forgiving, and it gives really good sound, where a single reed takes a little more practice and can get you from the really high to the really low notes. I think one of the most overlooked calls is the whistle. And it just seems like when you're hunting any kind of public land, everyone's highballing and trying to call ducks down. But, you get a whistle in there and sometimes that's all you need to pull in the ducks. Goose calls, you have a short reed and a flute. Majority of what you see is short reed. There are a handful of guys that are really, really, really good on a flute and can, run it just as good as a short reed. But a short reed, you're going to be a lot quicker. And that's something that, Josh said, go out and try it. There are different bore sizes that you need the correct hand placement and you need the correct airflow to make them sound good and work and be quick. So you want to go out and test these calls. There are companies out there like 737 that have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you buy something online, you can try it out. If it doesn't work for you, send it back. No questions asked. And that's something that we can't say enough. Try it and then make your purchase.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would caution folks on is that it's very easy that when you're starting out to blame the call for your inability or lack of progress when you're first getting started. I know when I was first blowing a polycarbonate call, it crossed my mind often. I was like, if I had an acrylic call, would this sound better? So focus on the fundamentals of how to make good quality sounds with the calls, and not so much like, well, this isn't an acrylic call with a broken in, gut system and all that kind of stuff that you need, that you see guys on stage and, some of the best callers in the world using to make realistic goose sounds. So focus on the fundamentals. Don't compare yourself to everybody that you see, on TV and stuff doing it. And, kind of make sure that you're ready fundamental wise before you advance up to a more expensive call that's going to require more back pressure and more control on your part to make it sound good. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into the big wide world of waterfowl calls. There's lots of great resources out there. Many of the shop owners, 737, Molt Gear, the guys we've talked to over the years on the podcast. If you got questions, call the shop. Many of those guys are more than willing to spend time talking to you and educating you and helping you out. If you've ever been to a waterfowl show where Field and Clay Hudnall are there, they spend tons of time just talking with people about how they can help them improve and become better callers. So lots of great resources available to you. All you got to do is go look for them. So definitely encourage you, and you'll be on your way no time to running those calls like pros in the blind. That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media. Check us out over at hpoutdoors.com and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.